Hi. Okay, so this week's reading, we read about racism and white supremacy. And it was very interesting to me to read because obviously I identify as a black African American woman. So, and like, I was just like thinking about like my experiences growing up, how like I kind of felt like I wasn't being represented, especially like in elementary, just because like most of the dolls were white, and then most of the TV shows we're watching were white, and it was just like on time. But I remember hearing about black people was like in a negative, detatory way, like when we talked about like slavery or the Civil War or like Africa and like being poor and impoverished. We never really glorified black African Americans the way we did for white supremacy. I also think just like the way like sometimes there's not a lot of like people of color in a classroom, so children who like are people of color often feel like left out because they can't relate. Like you celebrate Christmas, you celebrate all these Cinco de Mayo, but like just things that like growing up I felt being celebrated. And so I think just growing up I want to be able to have like a space for all of my students, even like the ones who don't look like me and stuff like that. And just I think it's very understanding that racism and white supremacy is a thing in the education system. And it's also like, especially as young children, if you're kind of like born and have it instilled in you that like you're better than someone because you're white or because you're a different race or gender, then you're gonna grow up with it, because especially as an elementary, it's kind of where you learn about like the boundaries and kind of like the beginnings. I think that's something that's just like overall understanding and just remembering. I don't want any of my students to like be able to experience what I experienced. And